Outer Wilds is a scary game, which is odd since it doesn't really advertise itself as a scary game. But somehow it manages to encapsulate just about everything I'm afraid of. Floating adrift in space, deep oceans, giant freaking fish, and some new ones this game taught me about. Deadly matter I can't see, and falling into the sun. Yet despite all of that, I couldn't put this game down. Now don't get me wrong, I procrastinated going back to Dark Bramble as long as I could, but after every death, I always wanted to get back out there. It was addicting. For a while I wasn't sure why, but I think I finally figured it out. This is how Outer Wilds guides you. Through fear. Let me tell you a story. During one of my first ever loops, I traveled to Prahlow. After finding my way below the surface, I was surprised to learn that a black hole could be found at the planet's center. I'm not sure about the physics of that, but then again, this whole solar system fits within the area of a moderate-sized city. At some point I lost my footing and began to fall into the black hole. Now I tried everything to avoid it. I managed to achieve a sort of orbit around the black hole, unable to escape but also remain from falling in. Eventually I saw it as a lost cause and just let myself fall. To my surprise I did not die, but instead was ejected from the corresponding white hole. I discovered White Hole Station in the Nomite text that would eventually direct me towards the Ash Twin project. I had let fear almost stop me from a very interesting discovery. What would have happened if I did manage to avoid the black hole? Would I ever have discovered the White Hole Station? Or even be able to solve the puzzle of the Quantum Tower? Yet I think this design is rather intentional. From all the playthroughs of this game I've watched, players tend to follow the same journey, myself included, which is baffling considering how non-linear this game is. How can a game where you can go anywhere at any time stop players from stumbling upon the most important discoveries? The answer, of course, is fear. The vessel is found deep within Dark Bramble, guarded by 3 giant anglerfish. The coordinates of the eye of the universe are found within the core of Giant Steep, under an ocean and surrounded by a powerful electric field. The method for getting through lies with Feldspar, who of course can be found, you guessed it, within Dark Bramble. By placing the most important discoveries in the scariest places in the solar system, Outer Wilds manages to keep players from running into them until they have built up the courage to seek them out. And this is precisely what happened to me. As the game went on, I found myself less and less afraid of exploration. I braved the ocean waters. I drifted dangerously close to those anglerfish. A stark contrast to the beginning of the game where I tried relentlessly to avoid falling into a black hole. For a while I thought this game would be better for me without the fear. I thought I would enjoy Outer Wilds much more if those anglerfish weren't inhabiting Dark Bramble. But after finishing the game, I no longer think that. The truth of the matter is, space is terrifying. Exploration is terrifying. The unknown is terrifying. Yet behind that fear lies some of life's greatest discoveries, and learning to push past that fear makes those discoveries all the more satisfying. Of course it helps that death isn't permanent in this game, or at least, until the Final Voyage. This part of the game is brilliant. You wake up and know exactly where you need to go and what you need to do. You've been practicing during the previous loops, whether intentionally or not. You travel to the Ash Twin project and remove the warp core. One last time you must venture deep within Dark Bramble, the solar system's most terrifying location. But with the time loop terminated, you no longer have your safety net. There can be no more mistakes, and you can't be afraid. This last trek to the vessel is very meaningful. It's an accumulation of the lessons learned over the course of the game. It's the equivalent of writing an exam after numerous practice tests. This is the one that counts. And the game knows how important this is. There's a song that only plays when the warp core has been removed, the same one you're listening to now. It is fittingly titled Final Voyage. I noticed how this track is eerily similar to the end of Loop song, signifying how, win or lose, this is the end of your journey. Once you warp to the eye, things are eerily quiet. For the first time in probably a while, you're in unknown territory. That fear factor is back, and you don't have your safety net to catch you. Yet you forge onward, knowing there is nowhere else to go. I was certainly scared while traversing the eye, and I swear I was almost struck by lightning here. When I reached the pole, a deep endless pit stood before me. I recalled my experience from the beginning of the game, where I gazed down into the black hole. The scene was very similar, but this time I wasn't going to let fear hold me back. I jumped in and didn't try to resist. Outer Wilds manages to leverage fear in a way I've never seen done before. It makes me think what discoveries in real life I am missing as I am too afraid to try. Now, I don't mean you should go jumping into black holes. But if fear is holding you back from something in your life, well, maybe it's worth taking that leap of faith.